Hi everyone! So for this reflection video, I'm going to discuss and point out the different aspects of everyone's videos that kind of stood out to me, along with the concepts and ideas that I believe we all seem to mention or talk about. So first I wanted to start off with Monica. I'm really glad you started your video with the image of the three individuals standing behind the fence. I've seen this image several times before, but for some reason, I just didn't even think about how much of a difference equality and equity really is. I mentioned in my video when talking about social justice that I believe social justice was equality for all, but then after watching your video, I would definitely include in there somewhere about equity because it is such an important concept and I actually cannot believe I left it out. So thank you for reminding me of this. I really enjoy this image because it is so true, and people need to realize that things can be so much simpler if certain aspects were just removed altogether. And secondly, I noticed in your video when you talked about the Who Am I section, I read on page 1 also about how she uses an exercise with her psychology students where she asks them to complete the sentence, I am blank. And then she talks about how she noticed different trends with different groups of race and how over the years it just became evident to her that some groups of people or some groups of her students were just giving adjectives about who they are, and then others were including their race. And it stood out to me, and obviously you, because you mentioned it, and I believe it would be so interesting to learn more and dig deeper as to why there is a disconnect between people identifying as their race when introducing themselves, because I also would exclude the fact that I'm white if I introduce myself. It's just not really something I think about. And that would be so fascinating to learn about the mindset behind that, because I have never even noticed that happening in real life before. But now I'm sure I will notice it becoming a thing, because obviously I don't mention my race, so other people probably don't either, and then some groups probably do. So that's just really interesting, and I'm glad you brought that part up as well. Next, I'll move on to Monique. In your video, you always have a really good way of discussing concepts. I've had you in previous classes, so I've seen some of your videos before, but you always have a really good idea of elaborating further on what the author says in your own perspectives and ideas, which I really enjoy. I also enjoyed the part of your video when you discussed how your own experience have shaped your identity. We all come from different backgrounds and have different experiences that shape who we are, so I definitely look forward to learning more about all of my fellow classmates and hearing their perspectives on different topics, because we've all experienced different things that made us who we are. So I'm glad you shared a little bit of that with us today. One point I noticed in your video was your description of social justice. You included the terms advantaged and disadvantaged, and as someone who graduated with my BSW, those populations are something I have come to learn very much about. And social justice is entirely encompassed by those two groups. So it was nice to have that brought into this social justice class, because social justice is entirely made up by people who are disadvantaged and need additional support, and people who are advantaged and may not even realize that they are. Lastly, I'll move on to Courtney. One thing that stood out to me in your video was your use of micro, meso, and macro to define your own self-identity. I thought that was a very interesting way to describe yourself. It actually made me think about myself in those terms of using those three levels. You also talked about social identity as it kind of relates to stereotypes, and you and Monique both kind of hit on this. It is a sad fact that a way someone identifies can be correlated with stereotypes through appearances, as Monique said, or by emotions, like you said. It's an unfortunate fact in today's society. I really enjoyed everyone's videos, and you each helped aid to my own learning, so thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear your responses as well. Thank y'all, and have a great night.